Okay, so today I decided to do a little journeying into the future. Um, Not just out of curiosity, but, in my own personal life, and I'm sure in yours as well, despite all of the surety, certainty, spiritual truth that's been realized in this body, there's still an ego that doubts. That is like, is Satyug, the golden age, really around the corner? It's just, it's difficult for my little ego mind, let alone my lower mind in general, but my ego mind, to really see how all of this, all of what's going on in this world is going to shift. And in my perspective, it's going to, a lot of the people that I follow, or person or a couple, they have a tendency to make it sound like there's going to be this great shift, sudden shift, and everything is going to be good. And I can't see how that's going to happen. I feel like it's going to take several years, like not till 2024, 2025. That's according to Maharishi, that's our phase transition time, that the Satyug golden age has to start by 2025. And in between then, I really feel it's going to really kick our ass. But we won't really see the manifestation of the beginning of the golden age. And like, it's not going to suddenly all of a sudden, and the new agers, and I shouldn't say new agers like I'm picking on them, but in the new age community, they talk about ascension, like we're all going to ascend, they're going to ascend, and it's suddenly going to be blissful and wonderful. That is not going to be the case. Anyway, that's for another topic. But we've got a long phase transition happening. And, I just don't see it shifting on a dime, like all of a sudden, happy. So I wanted to take a look for my own, I needed something to look into the future if I could. And I did a little journey, which maybe today, maybe tomorrow, I don't know when. I will do the journey for you to do personally, just like a little guided meditation. And let me see, before I begin telling you what I saw, it is hopeful. I went 15 years in the future. Now that could, 15 years in the future, plenty of good, so it could be, what I saw could happen in between 0 to 15 years. What do I want to tell you? So in doing this journey, when you, in the guided meditation, which you'll get to, there's a point where you like open the door and you're like, show me, you're supposed to see something. And I was kind of getting nothing. I was sitting there and waiting for something. And I just, and then I just decided, well, I'm just going to step out. I'm going to take some movement and kind of just use some imagination, even if I have to start making stuff up. And then I was taken away. And my point in telling you this is, if you're channeling, learning to channel, or doing psychic readings or intuitive readings, sometimes it doesn't flow right away. And you have to take the first step. I mean, maybe there's a little intrepidation. I think I was feeling like, oh, can I really do this? Maybe I had not fear, but intrepidation or doubt. And that will hold the energy back. So you have to take the initiative. For example, if you're beginning to channel and you're not hearing anything, if you just start saying, and to let go of your doubt, if you go, greetings, if you start the word greetings, then you've created the portal and the information flows through. And that's the same thing for this journey. So if you do the guided meditation that I do and you feel stuck, just step out the door and just make some stuff up, and then it will pull you into it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's the same thing that happened for me. And actually, I had a little bit of expectation, like I expected, and I didn't give any direction, like 15 years in the future, was it going to be here in Oklahoma? Yes, I'm in Oklahoma. Yeah, reddest state in the nation. Anyway, besides the point, I didn't give it any direction. So, but I think, so what, I'm getting ahead of myself and confusing the whole situation. So what did I see? What happened as soon as I started taking a step and I was trying to force a physical seeing of a particular place and it wasn't happening. What happened was I started flying above the earth and I was looking down. I started looking down on states and then countries and getting kind of an overall feel. And my impression of why I was seeing things this way, not so detailed, but just general impressions, was that there's lots of things that can happen, but we can get an overall feel. Like we won't know the details 15 years in the future, but we can get an overall feel for states and countries. Okay, does that make sense? So I have my list here. The first place that, and remember, I'm kind of flying over the United States, and I first went over New York. And let me just say, my overall feeling of the earth, of the United States, was a sense of freedom. There was a calm and clarity to the energy on planet Earth. This is 15 years in the future. And I first saw New York, and I tried to go down into New York, and I was a little dismayed at first. So I brought myself down into New York City, and what I saw was like still empty. And by the way, there's a lot less people 15 years in the future. You probably already would assume that with all the people that are dying now and that will be dying, we will have mass deaths. And remember, all of these deaths are contracted, okay? Very few people leave before their time, all contracted. And the ones that are leaving now probably will be back very quickly to enjoy golden age. Okay, so no worries, it's all contracted, but there's a lot less people. Now, where was I? I apologize. So I landed in New York, and I was surprised to see New York City and all these high rises, that it was still empty. And I kind of like, COVID 2020 was all empty, but it didn't have the feel of boarded up and hopeless. It felt very clean and felt like the city was waiting. It had been cleaned up, and all of these buildings on the inside had been cleaned up, and it was simply just waiting for something. So I started moving around the city, and I could hear voices. And the city was still a little dark, like it wasn't quite inhabited again, or it had been empty for a while. And I could hear voices and see light, and I ended up moving to a park area where lots of people were there. And what I felt was the people were communicating. There was a group of people like on a platform, and then people in the park, lots of people. And they were all discussing like what to do next. How do we bring people back into the cities, and and my sense was that each of the states in the United States had their own people-oriented government, or government, I don't know what the other word, ruling, not ruling, but you get what I'm saying, that the people were discussing in a very calm manner what to do next for New York. It was a beautiful scene, okay? Okay. Where to go next? Sorry, this might be a lengthy video. Then I went over to California. And what I saw, California is still a little bit of, that there had been rising waters. And so a lot of the shoreline in California and a little bit up the coast had been worn away. Waters have risen. In 15 years, waters have risen. I didn't see a whole lot on the East Coast. I didn't see water in that section. Just definitely California coast, water. And it had a little bit of more work. And I felt like there were a lot of people gone, like a lot of people had left in those previous years to go. Many people have gone to the center of the United States. So California didn't have the feel as New York, but a lot of people had left, but it was still in like the rebuilding stage. But there was still plenty of California, plenty of people there, but it was still in rebuilding, reorganization stage. Okay, so what else? Texas. I tried to find Texas, and I heard, what Texas? So I couldn't find Texas, and I couldn't get a read. I just felt darkness there. Okay, so central US. So I just kind of focused on overall central US, and I felt lots of green. Oklahoma was very green, Kansas and all the surrounding, very green, very calm. And again, that feel that each section, each state had their own organization, and it felt very calm. Okay, so that's the US. Basic overall feel for the United States. Then I was pulled to Australia, and I felt a lot of light over Australia. And what I saw, maybe this is already true, I don't know, there was like a line of delineation that the Aboriginal lands, I don't know if some of those lands are currently occupied and being taken over, but there was a line that had been drawn, and those lands have been deemed sacred. And they were well cared for, and there was no interference. Okay, so that had been cleared. But Australia felt very light. And once again, this whole sense of freedom and peace and people taking care of themselves was for the whole planet. Okay, so I saw a lot of light for Australia. Now, moving over to the UK, I didn't, there was in the city, London, that general area felt still a little dark. It was dark, it was quiet. I mean, not pitch dark, but kind of shadowy. But there were some lights on. And I got the sense that in my other mid-month energy report, what I got again was it took the UK a little longer to release its shadowy stuff, and it was still in the, something just popped up, process of rebuilding, but there were lights on. Lights were coming on, but the surrounding areas of UK, Wales, were all green and fine, but kind of like the UK was still taking just a little bit longer to flush out. It had taken the UK a little longer to kind of flush out the darkness and rebuild itself to come back to light, okay? So then just kind of overall Europe, France, very light. Spain, good. Germany, light. Italy, light. So Europe, fine. Full of light. Okay. And just once again, light meaning a sense of freedom and calm. China. Whew, that was intense. So China felt so heavy. It was dark and shadowy. Let me see here. I'm trying to read my notes. And what I got was a sense of many deaths, that it was still recovering from many, many deaths. It was dark. And I started focusing on it, and the heavy energy, it was very physical, and it was weird. It was almost as if this thought came to me, does China know I'm looking at it right now, like a remote viewer, and they have a wall up there? It was a very heavy, uncomfortable energy. Many dead, but there were signs of rebuilding. Okay. So that was, and I had to leave that energy. So it kind of looks like, I'm curious if the golden age or Satyug, starts off in different places, right? Not the entire world at once. Kind of makes sense. I guess it kind of depends on the amount of darkness or shadowy stuff for each country or state or section, that it takes it perhaps a little longer for it to recover. Okay, so North and South Korea, very interesting, kind of shocking in a way. North Korea was light, but completely empty. And I could not find South Korea. It was black, kind of like Texas was. I don't know what that means. I couldn't get any more read out of it. Africa was good, filled with light, and I could see that there were still some shadowy figures, figures that were still trying to rule, kind of in the old ways, but they were getting knocked out very quickly. So there was lots of light for Africa. And then Russia. It was a brilliant light. It was the brightest, actually, of all the areas I looked into. So I was quite shocked about that. And I don't know what that light indicates. Does it indicate that they're the brightest light on the planet during that time? I don't think so. I don't know what it means. Perhaps in 15 years, maybe it is meaning that they have the brightest light. I don't know. So that's interesting. Obviously, not a lot of detail because there's so much that can happen up until that point. But if that was a real glimpse into the future, it looks like our future is looking bright for the most part, that there's a level of freedom and rebuilding, that the people rule, organization, lot less people, not that that's a good thing, but a lot less tension. It was just lovely. It was a sense of rebuilding and a breath of fresh air for the whole planet. So good things to look forward to. Speaking of deaths, I just have to throw this in there because who knows, it might be my last video. I checked in, I think I did a 10-year future for myself. I was kind of not clear. It was like myself and the 10 years into the future. And what I saw was this gorgeous, like, city of light, but it wasn't light. It was like this gorgeous city thing, like high up on a mountaintop. It was like an ice crystal city castle thing on a mountaintop or in the sky. And I kind of thought, is this city of light? Is this me? Am I going to be in the city? Am I going to be dead in 10 years? I don't know. Or was it trying to show me that in this 10-year period that this, they talk about that the ascended masters have these ashrams, cities of light that are in another dimension. And the fact that it was on a mountaintop, it had been manifested in manifested form in kind of this crystallized ice. It was kind of clear. It was so beautiful that perhaps it was showing me that in 10 years, 10 to 15 years, that Satyug, or the golden age, will have manifested. I don't know. Um, it's kind of funny. I don't know if I was like seeing that I would be dead in 10 or 15 years. I thought I had a really long life. I'd be here at least until my late 90s. I've always felt that, and my Vedic astrology has indicated that. But just this week, I got a hexagram saying that the one who receives this hexagram is close to death or has died and is on the other side. And then that was shocking. That's all it said. And then the next day I was driving. I have a courier job, and I cannot tell you how many dead animals I saw everywhere. Everywhere I went, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Is this a sign? Is my death impending? And then I get home and I finally receive my astrological reading for like the year to come, my Vedic astrology reading. And I get into it, and it talks about how in April and May of this year, it's probably likely to contract some illness, some disease, some unknown disease that's going to affect my chest, somewhere in my chest area. And I thought, what the hell? Am I going to get COVID? So, if my demise ends soon, we will have noted it here on this video. No, actually, I'm being silly, but it's Vedic astrology. If you're interested in really, it's really the best for your personal life, karmic, kind of what was really planned for your life. Vedic astrology is the best, and it's the best at predictive stuff. What will really happen? Perhaps I get COVID. Anyway. I thought I had enough health concerns, and karmic conditions, but oh no, seems like my obstacles just keep coming. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that glimpse into the future, and I will get a video up to guide you into the same meditation, and perhaps you can share what you received. Okay, until next time.